All right. Welcome back again, people, to the third episode of the Sovereign Music Podcast. We are here with a very good friend of mine, actually. A man who really shouldn't need no introduction by this time. But welcome to Airklipz. Right, my brother.
Glad for having me.
Please, obviously I've been doing a few interviews, going through a few today, with a few different people. But I always start off by getting people to introduce themselves and what they do, because I can't put the words to it sometimes, you know what I say? So,
well, okay, so I'm Airklipz, rapper, producer, and just general creative, I'd say. I get involved in a lot of creative endeavors, build studios, basically a lot of creative stuff. But then rapper mainly, I do a lot of rap.
Okay, and so would you say the rap is what you're typically known for then, or would you say there's something else that brought people to your music before rapping?
I think it's well, because I'm a big cannabis and vape enthusiast as well. I do shout out a lot of vape related stuff, and I'm a very big cannabis advocate for legalization and stuff. So that is also part of my whole legacy, I guess. So that does maybe have a 50-50 effect on why people come to know me sometimes.
And that being said, right, when did you I know this question already, but can you let them know when you first got into music? Like, what got you into music? What was the first thing you did? Like, was you started rapping first? Did you start making beats, or
definitely started rapping first? Started rapping, oh gosh, I can't even remember how. I think I'd say honestly, I think I was about maybe 15 or 16, maybe 14 or 15 when I wrote my first rhymes. And I think I recorded my first demo tape when I was about 16. If I remember right, about 16 I recorded my first demo tape. So yeah, I've been rapping a long time. That was probably like 30 years ago now.
And what is it that got you into the rap though? What was that moment that you say that you could look back on and say, hey, somebody played me this, or I watched this advert, or something like that, maybe?
It was a combined amount of stuff. I think it was just the whole total weight of like underground New York rap in the 90s. I think I remember discovering Nas. I discovered Nas. I discovered Mobb Deep. Discovered like all these artists in their prime just releasing music, and I just wanted to do it. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I remember just hearing the entire Queensbridge. Jesus, it was the whole Queensbridge was like quite inspirational.
And then, what would you say was like a big break moment for you, or a moment where it doesn't have to be early? It could be later on in your career, but what do you think is that moment in which you thought everything was going to come to a head, or you thought everything was going to really take off, or maybe it was some 8 Mile shit, like I should have said to you, like this is the night, you understand, like I'm going to spit these bars, right? Like, you understand, like what would you say, like, was that moment for you where it was like, hey, I really want to take this stuff seriously?
Well, I guess it was a transition moment for me. It was like, because I've been doing music for a long time, and I've been doing music with my friends. And I remember there was a point where I think I had to realize that, like, it was just not so much that I had to stop doing music with my friends, but that I had to concentrate on doing music by myself as well as doing music with other people. And that was a moment when I started working on the Single Speed project. And that Single Speed project was the turning point in my career, I think, where everything became a bit more serious to me, as opposed to, me kind of maybe just trying to do it with my friends and, like, have this whole group, because we were like Underdog Records at the time.
It
was the transition from Underdog Records to the stuff I did after that, that was kind of the single speed project, and yeah, that was the transition moment.
Do you think, kind of, with saying that every rapper kind of goes through that? Because I'm sure at some point, every rapper links a producer, and that producer kind of becomes their dog for that moment in time, and they're parring and they're making stuff together, and like you said, maybe it's a crew or man them that are rapping, or one's making beats, maybe one's a DJ, one's a dancer or whatever, next man's a graffiti head. You get me? So do you think that with the rappers in particular, they are the ones who are more inclined to be loyal to that situation until it is like, hey, everybody is in a separatist thing almost, like not in a separatist, because people don't want to break up friendships on that, but just, do you think it's only the rapper that's always left with the last pick of, because he always needs beats, innit, right?
He's always confusing something. Well, I don't know. I guess in terms of the longevity of the career, artists, the rapper can tend to be the one who's longest still trying to do it, but overall I think the motivation is the same for artist or producer, or if it comes to a head, it comes to a head. Then if you're still going, you're still going. I guess it just depends on your love for the craft. Like, as a rapper, I've seen rappers quit as well, so I guess the longevity just depends on you as a person, and probably how much you love doing what you do. Like, for me, it was always, I think I came to that crossroads at single speed, like I say, and it was the point where it was a kind of disillusionment where I realized I had to look to myself and say, would I keep doing this if I was never to make any money from this going forward? Because at the point of single speed, I had put a lot of money into music, and I was like looking at myself as an adult and saying, this is costing you money. It's not like, you can't look at it logically and say this is making you money, it's costing you money. So are you willing to keep it costing you money going forward? And I had to look at myself up and down and say, yes, I can, because I love doing music more than I wouldn't love doing whatever I would do with that time when I wasn't doing music. So, and
that kind of brings me to the next question, which is again around what was, when you're thinking this is obviously a point of friction, isn't it? Right? That is, hey, well, can I afford to do this or not? And that then goes into the realm of, am I making a return? Do you understand? Like, is it paying for itself? Yeah. So what other problems would you say that you came up with during that time, or came up against, during that time of, hey, I want to take this seriously? Because obviously you start off, when you're spending money on it already, you're already spending money on it. But then when you decide to take it seriously, although it's like, okay, I love the craft, it's still also, I need to spend more money on it because I'm now taking it more seriously, and I still need to get a return. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So what would you say was any other things that maybe you faced at that time to say, I'm going to be able to make this into a profitable or just a pay for itself thing?
Well, I guess the main problem was up till the time when I released Single Speed, which if you check my catalogue, you'll realise is that Single Speed was the first project I had Parachute Life 1, which was on iTunes and the streaming services, but that was with another distributor. So I think Single Speed was the first project that I actually put out with DistroKid, and started putting out stuff basically, more independently than I was before. And that's when I started working with my promoter, Trevor Devine. Shout out to Trevor Devine. He's the one that put me onto DistroKid at the time. And just from that point on, I was able to see streaming as a viable thing. Because before then, I think streaming for me was just something that seemed very exploitative. And it still does, if I'm honest. It's because the money you're paid for your streams versus what people were paid for actually buying albums. Which is where I got into the game just at the point when buying albums was just dying off and streaming was just taking up. So it was kind of hard to be one of the artists that was just seeing that album money go and not being able to grab it,
So would you say that DistroKid was the way that you kind of, or would you say it was the first time you had dealt with monetization outside of the physical realm then, would you say?
It wasn't the first time, but it was the first time independently.
Yeah.
Because before that I'd had some stuff, but with the group, you know.
Yeah.
Not like it was with DistroKid, which was just personally me as an artist.
And what would you say, like the main kind of things that you came up against, again, just on the monetization journey itself? Like, and I mean that from the whole of the time you've been doing this, like.
I'd say the main problem you come up against is just which is it's very weird now because I've come a long way in the fact that I started my music before YouTube. And I watched YouTube come and like become its thing, and then, you know, like, and the main problem I see now with the whole industry in terms of making it for independent artists is just the fact that the algorithms have been hijacked by the big labels and the big the big music industry, you know, heads they've been able to kind of put a stranglehold on what people see and what people can hear. And so when at the beginning of YouTube, your friend down the road could make, you know, I remember that little Geordie rap. I don't know if you ever remember that Geordie rap with those kids out in school. Yeah. It was terrible, you know, but it went viral.
It was definitely terrible.
There were millions of hits, you know what I mean? And for what YouTube was, that was what YouTube was at the beginning. It was the fact that your mates could just make a video and it could go viral. But, well, I think the record companies did not like that. And so the fact now is that you just can't do that anymore, you know? It's so hard for there to be a Krypton Conan like there was back then, you know? And that's the point I see that's really hard to monetize. So ever since the monetization became quite serious, where it became like, okay, people are actually making money off, you know, the streaming platforms and off YouTube, you see that the returns are so low now that the squeeze is on your algorithm for any streams that you get. And it's really hard to see like where an artist like me used to put out a video and get, you know, on average, you know, like I'd say like 1,000, 2,000 views, because that was the like surrounding reach that I had. Now I'm seeing that same amount of viewership being squeezed, and it's almost, you can just see it. It's like the machine, you know, that just kind of like trying to take away from an independent artist because you just don't have the revenue or the budget to pay for the same type of. Basically, you're paying for the clicks and you're paying.
Yeah, exactly. It's just pay to play advertising,
and that's what YouTube is. That's what to a lesser extent. And I have to give, you know, I mean, everyone says they're the demon, but I have to give Meta props because they're actually the lesser demon in this race because they pay more. They limit your reach less. You know, as an artist, I have definitely noticed that.
I think the funny thing is, right, so I was saying this to Acme earlier on, right, and it is, because really Facebook is the kind of marking of that era because MySpace blew up and created the whole era, right? Like, before that, it was obviously Kazaa, LimeWire, you know, so on and so forth. So, but MySpace blew up the whole thing of doing music, creating a page, blah, 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 right? And then Facebook, I think the devil part of it is that it's the amount of data. They understand it's the amount of data that they're taking, right? Yeah. But I think that, as you said, I think for someone who's selling something off it, or visibility-wise on Facebook, right, shall we say, visibility-wise on Facebook, Facebook's already got the most users. It still has the most users, right? So in essence, it's not necessarily, or could not be necessarily, that they're not suppressing as hard, but it's just that because it's more users, there's more leakage to actual groups of people who resonate with whatever you're doing. You know what I'm trying to say to you?
See, I agree with that. I fully agree with that. And that might be actually one of the reasons, but that doesn't account for YouTube, because YouTube has more users than Facebook, no?
No. Not in terms of users.
Facebook has the most users as far as I'm aware. Like the most users, full stop, right?
Oh, I thought
of all of the social platforms.
That's crazy. I thought
so. YouTube
had the traffic.
YouTube has, I think, the most traffic. Yes,
Yeah.
I think because you remember YouTube, you don't have to be a member to watch videos of it. So it's the most streamed site, let's say, or the most watched video site.
That's true.
People watch the most videos or consume the most internet
content,
time, maybe on content on YouTube, right? But it's funny because again, we were speaking about this earlier. Is you kind of go from the MySpace times to Facebook. Kind of doesn't take over MySpace at the beginning, but MySpace kind of becomes a bit boring. A bit boring, a bit stale in terms of UI, user experience, right?
Yeah, I remember that time.
So it becomes a bit boring, right? But MySpace, what Acme said was quite funny. MySpace actually had the best UI, not UX, but best UI, because you could actually code MySpace, right? So you could MySpace was like a free server, a free website, right? A free web domain, everything for free, and you could have your own stylized players on there and build your own page. So where we are now is almost like where we're coming back to is that MySpace era where we need this freedom platform again.
Yeah, but you see the problem
for people.
I think the problem with MySpace and the problem with the MySpace coming back now is that the pervasiveness of like a Spotify has become so
normal.
Yes, so ubiquitous that like you can't go back to. This is the problem I have with like I've had websites over the time, but it's like people just don't interact with music the way they used to. Like the product just isn't the product as it used to be. What you're basically doing as a musician is competing for like 2 to 3 minute attention spans of people, which is basically a song, but then you can consume a song at the same time as you can consume, like a funny video. So if you merge those two together, that's what you generally have now, where you have like memes and like TikTok videos, basically, with music at the back, and that is basically competing with music videos.
Music
directly.
Yeah.
And so once you've got that, then you've got a very hard market to try and.
Yeah, because it's like as we called it back then, in Carter days, right? Multimedia, innit, right? You used to buy a PC back then. It would be you're buying you had a standard PC and then you had a multimedia center, right, or a multimedia PC. You got your CD drive, SD card slot, or whatever it was, right? So there's a big difference between, would you say, and especially from the hard copies, right? Because this is another question that I was going to ask you, like. Are you still engaging or do you still have a desire to engage in physicals and hard copies? Does it make sense in today's world for artists to still engage with those mediums?
Well, put it this way, very well, I started off selling CDs. I started off printing off CDs and selling my own CDs and trying to distribute my own stuff. And it's hard work. It's hard work. Shout out to Mike JLC, people like that who made that work. But I wasn't one of those people that could make it work. I always found at the end I'd have way more CDs than I needed, and then by the time I'd have those CDs, I couldn't afford to keep them, and I'd have to either give them away promotionally, and then by the time you give them away, then people start wanting to buy them. It's a real vicious cycle in terms of storage and printing and like keeping. So with CDs, I think I've kind of given up on CDs totally. Now,
and then visibility as well.
Yeah, visibility.
Yeah, go on.
And then who's got a CD player as well? Which
yeah.
But when it comes to vinyl now has taken on a very, very different, very, very different aspect where people are actively seeking out vinyl. Like I've got my Bandcamp, and someone ordered some vinyl the other day. I was actually quite shocked, and the recent releases of vinyl that I've put out, mostly on Gold on the Mixer, but I've released one recently now with Acme. We've got to a point now where the vinyl's actually selling, which is quite weird. So yeah, I'd say that would be the vinyl would probably be the only physical medium. I don't know if people are actually listening to the vinyl, which is the thing that I don't think is happening, because I have a lot of vinyl myself and I don't necessarily listen to it. I keep the vinyl for its
But that's what I'm trying to say. I think it's like with vinyl, people have something tangible as they can buy and have that sentimental feeling.
Yeah, and it's something to say that I support this artist.
I supported it. Yeah, I was there. You know,
versus you just stream an artist 1,000 times, and then you have your at the end of every year you get your Alchemist biggest fan. You know, on Spotify, you get that in your roundup. But that doesn't really say it like I have this album or I went to the concert and look at this, memorabilia I got from the concert. I think at the end of the day, fans still want that. The fact they don't get that, I think, leaves most fans not fulfilled with the whole artist-fan experience. And so that's why the fans that actually go to gigs tend to be the fans that are more invested in artists and fans that tend to spend money and tend to keep the artistry alive. Everyone else tends to think it's just something you consume for free, like in a sense of like...
So it's like a difference, kind of like it's a fight between fan mentality and then also artist engagement. Yes. Because really and truthfully, an artist starts the ball rolling by being the one to engage first.
Yeah.
So then it is, how do people react?
Yeah.
And again, the question is, as we're saying with digital technology now, it's down to visibility, right? And even back then it was down to visibility, but now, as you said, we've got enhanced visibility, but just as I said about Facebook, there's more fish in the sea, I'm trying to say to you, right? So, and...
But I think, if you look at, Big Nasty, I think he's the perfect example of what I'm saying here, where a lot of people know Big Nasty as TV celebrity. They know him as the guy from the memes, the guy from the, a lot of people don't realize he's actually a rapper.
Yeah. And we see that happen in quite a lot of situations where people kind of get to that the kind of point of fame, like existential fame, like outside of their local or their county, and then to the nation, and then from the nation to overseas. Because of the borderless nature of the internet. People are seeing, we were laughing earlier on about the emotional damage guy, damage meme, right? So these things, they just spread across the internet. And so what would you say for yourself has been like some of the models that you've seen work in terms of artists being able to monetize? Like we had a debate on Twitter Spaces a few weeks ago about direct to consumer. Yeah. And would you say that this is not a new thing, but would you say is this the avenue that artists should kind of, where you're maybe going with stuff now?
Yeah, I'm definitely going direct to consumer, but I'm taking it even a bit deeper in that I'm trying not to. I'm aiming as direct to consumer as possible. I'm trying to take it in my 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 fan bases of directly trying to engage with the people that engage with me on a one-on-one basis. And obviously that's not realistic if I was to exponentially have a growth burst suddenly and I have tens of thousands of fans. But at the moment, it's quite manageable, and I can say I can engage on a one-on-one basis and kind of directly sell to the people who are directly supporting me, as opposed to trying to sell to a much bigger brand of people who I'm not necessarily sure of what they need from me as a creative. If you see what I'm trying to say. So it's kind of easier for me to be able to almost custom create what I do based on what I like to do and based on what the people who like my work like to consume. You see what I'm trying to say?
So again, just to put a final point on it, and again, because of the nature of the podcast as well, but so what you're saying is again, you reckon that artists should be focusing on fan engagement via, let's say, community building, because this is where it all is
100%
right now, whether we're talking, let's say, the current or what's coming next, it is still...
It's about people.
Right. Because, we talk about this all the time, right? That, the old school thing, and we were talking about this with Tommy D, right? So shout out to Tommy D as well, right? So we talk about this with Tommy because he wrote that book, 1,000 True Fans, right? And we were saying that, back in the day, it was like 10,000 true fans, because
you had to have a lot more fans to be gold or platinum, or to be able to really reach out into the wider world, because you didn't have just the internet and a million people, right? So it's like we've come from this thing of, okay, 10,000 fans, to really break even, and then 1,000 fans now, because we've got the internet and we've got all of these other things. But now, really and truthfully, it is the road to 1,000 fans, isn't it? Because it's if you got one guy that listens and two guys, as you said, that are satisfied, and then another girl, and then this person and that person, and then you've got 10 people, and then that 10 and 10 more people, 100. Do you understand? Yeah. And because this is direct to consumer, everyone, and I think I did speak to Happy about this, but it's like everybody is consuming and then also purchasing. Sharing, the value in what they're valuing, right? So everyone values similar things. However, the artist values the listener's ear, right? And the listener values the artist's output, right, or intention, right? So as the artist puts something out, this listener who really values the artist is going to give back by the only value that they know, which is the currency, right, like in their pocket, right? And if not, then maybe they want to collaborate with the artist. Hey, I can do something for you, because we find a lot of time as artists that the people who we expect around us to be able to do certain things, not that they can't, but we end up kind of bumping into people along the way who just say, hey, I'm going to do this for you, right? Yeah. Because I value the tune, or I value the beat, or... So would you say music on a shared economy is a better model than music in a give and take economy? Because a shared economy is more like, we know that we're giving and taking. Yeah. And a give and take economy is like, hey, the artist, I want your ear. Yeah. And I also want your money. Yeah. And or for labels, it's definitely I want your money, right? Yeah. And then for the consumer, it's like, hey, I just want free stuff. Like, I just want free tickets. Yeah.
I think definitely the model has to change in terms of that. But then also, I think like it differs from country to country. I think as you go culturally, because when I've been to America, I think they definitely have a paper play culture. Just generally, it's expected, where I think generally their public expect less for free. They always expect that they're going to have to pay for something at some point if it's good. That's their only prerequisite, is that it's good. And then once it's good, they want to pay. In our society here in England, it's a much different culture, where we expect it to be free, and then we expect it to be good as well, and then we expect it to be amazing, and then we'll pay for it. That's the different cultures that I kind of tend to see. But then I think as in terms of a model going forward, it's definitely one where, as an artist, I definitely am seeing a lot of improvement in terms of fan engagement, and I'm seeing a lot of growth in terms of just appreciation, and like you say, fans willing to do stuff other than money just to show support, which is like really valuable.
And what about music rights? Like in your time, what kind of stumbles or things have you come across with music rights, hurdles, or things that you just thought, hey, I just don't even get this, I don't know how to manage this? How have you managed that over time as well, all these different ways of dealing with rights? Because rights is later, it's money later, right? Where you need to think about how you're setting yourself up at the beginning to have that money later. And we could say that, streaming is a form of it, because streaming is really just paying you for the rights of people listening. But but managing the actual rights of your music and being able to get the most out of it.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I can tend to be very lazy when it comes to my registering of my songs, because I make quite a lot of music, and so I tend to batch register. And so I might start at the end of the year and just start PRS and everything I've done for the previous year, and realize that there's 7 albums I haven't registered. but usually I tend to let it bulk up because the money doesn't go anywhere as long as you report. As long as you have the tracks out, you've kind of basically copyrighted it by it being up there, and then once you register it, then you can backdate your payments anyway. So, in terms of getting PRS money, they have been quite good. I have no real complaints with PRS. They pay when they pay every now and then, but.
And with you saying that about it being kind of like every now and then, like again, obviously Sovereign Music Podcast, we're also focusing on the current burgeoning Bitcoin economy, what's going on with cryptocurrencies, and the way that artists are able to connect, let's say, and have also their payments under their control. So again, like with some of the platforms that you used, again, as you said, PRS takes a quarter, right? Every quarter, right? Yeah. PPO, same thing, right? It's like, I think it's like 2 times a year now with PPO, right? So it's like with DistroKid and all the other platforms, again, it's a similar thing, right? Because they've got to process your payments or their numbers, and then they've got to send it to your PayPal, and then they've got to now do whatever, or you've got to cash it out, and that's got to take however many hours, and you have 3 or 4 middlemen sometimes in between yourself and the payment that you're supposed to receive for these streams or royalties, and there's also people taking a cut as well, right? Like
termite teeth, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. So what would you say then, like going forward into the kind of like new kind of age of payments where people go, do you think this is something, an area that artists should be exploring? Like, even if it isn't like, okay, they're going to explore Bitcoin, but do you think they should be exploring, the Web3, I say that with a bit of a, but the Web3, because that's what Bitcoin really ushered in, is payments on the internet that is instant, is verifiable, or it's near instant, verifiable, there's no middle. So artists removing the record labels and removing some of the distribution shadiness, and then also now removing any kind of friction on the payment side. What do you think about how this is going to progress going forward? Do you think more and more artists will start to employ the use of, let's say, NFTs or other ways of getting around these things?
Oh, like I say, like me, like I've always been a proponent for the fact that the artists should be more in control of the financial day-to-day of what they're earning, so that they can see genuinely whether they need half of the people who take the cuts that they do. Especially when it comes to like the stuff you show me. You've been one of the people that show me a lot of the stuff when it comes to monetizing through the crypto space. It's definitely something that artists have to look into, because you're already going to put your music out on various streaming platforms in a non-competitive manner. You're going to have your stuff on Deezer, and you're going to have your stuff on Spotify. They're not competing with each other. It's like, if you've got to use, or they are, but they're competing with each other. Your music isn't competing within their space. You see what I'm trying to say? Someone listens to your music on Deezer, or they listen to your music on Spotify. The only thing that changes is how much you get paid. If you see what I'm trying to say, but you still get paid. Now, that means that putting your stuff on these streaming platforms, which are outside of those, especially because a lot of them pay a lot more money, when you look at it like down to the per stream, actual value. So I think it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for artists, and in fact, if there's a way to make them the dominant force, I would maybe probably even advocate for taking our music off of like Spotify's and off of the, because there's a very exploitatory nature, a very exploitative nature to especially Spotify,
payment system, which
Well, as me and you were talking about, and as it's been going around quite a lot online, it's kind of, when you say exploitative, it's put us into this. All right, cool. So right, I said this to Jay the other day, right, and it's just quite funny. But with you have like this era where people were not recording as much, and I'd say that's like, you know, the pre-Tupac era, right? Yeah. People were not recording as much, and like Tupac and certain people that were recording that much later became the way of doing things, right?
Yeah.
Because if we're going to talk about, let's say, in levels, and again, this is no disrespect to anybody outside of this, but Pac kind of set the pace of, you, brother, you need to be recording this like this, like all the time, like 24/7, like, and in abundance, to the point that if you die, you got an extreme legacy, right?
I hear you on that.
And then I was gonna say that the next kind of real big iteration that we see of that, because I'm not talking about, again, anybody in between is like, yeah, great, they were doing hard work. I mean, no one's not saying that there wasn't other people recording tons of material, but Pac's legacy made it prominent that you had to record like crazy. And then the next person between, for me anyway, in my eyes, is between Pac, was 50. 50 was like, you have to record and put the shit out like crazy. Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you, right? Like, because if you don't put the shit out, you know, Get Rich or Die Trying was the name of the first album, and all that them G-Unit lot was doing at that point was like, they were dominating you. You go to the Chinese man, he's trying to sell you the DVDs and the CDs, bro, and it's like 50 G-Unit mixtapes, bro.
I think definitely it was a work rate thing, though.
Yeah.
Like, I think what both of those guys had in common was not necessarily like, I don't know what to say, but basically what they both had in common was like, they both were willing to work as hard as they needed to make the impact that they knew they
needed to make. Yeah.
And I think that's just genuinely lost in most industries anyway. That's not just music in general. Like that type of work ethic is just a dying thing in general.
Just in general.
People don't generally think they need to work as hard as those guys work to get where they get. And I think we both understand that that's not true. You know, like the real people who actually make it, like the Drakes of this world. You know, like I'm not really a big Drake fan, but you know, you have to appreciate that to get to where he is.
You have to put in a level of work. You have to put in a level of work. Yeah.
An obscene level of work. You have to be in so many places on a daily basis. But the
thing is, don't you think, even though the culture of that is kind of died out, it's been exacerbated by the major platforms? Because the major platforms now, because you know, you speak to a lot of guys, you see a lot of video online where they're like, oh, it's a consistency game, right? Which is half true, because it is a consistency game. It is that you need to have stuff coming out, and you need to actually, you know, stay relevant kind of thing, right? But at the same time, don't you think that these platforms, they help to promote this free content, quick content, share lifestyle, and you end up blowing your whole fucking load, bro, just to be able to get through the gate? You get what I'm trying to say to you?
I think it's 50-50. It's the 50-50, the platforms and the artists themselves. Because the artists are, from back in the day, have been way too quick to chase a trend before any of this set off. You know, like if it was like every artist in America starting to do southern music, if it was, you know, like if it was all the world starting to do drill music because it was popular in the UK, you know, like there's always been a thing of artists chasing trends, and I think that's 50-50 with the industry knowing that artists will chase trends and, you know, leading the conversation in a certain direction, as well as artists just, you know, kind of being like a bit of I don't know what the word would be, but it's like a mindless following situation that seems to happen sometimes in artistry. So I wouldn't always blame the platform. In all honesty, I'd blame a lot of times the artists themselves, because it's the same with Spotify. I mean, like I say, it's very exploitative, but we're all on it. We all are still on it, you know, regardless of the fact that it's exploitative. If we all took our music off it and put it on, let's say Tidal. Not that I'm saying Tidal's better, but they pay more. You see what I mean? We would, in one fell swoop, you know.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the platform. The platform. I mean, I think the movement is that you can't. It's almost not impossible, but it's very highly unlikely that everybody's going to band together to just do that all at the same time in one go. However, right, I think what we're saying here is that over time, it's starting to wear down on even the newer artists that are born in that era, right? Because right now, let's say the younger artists, right, they're all, to them, you can't tell them that there's any other way than this, right? Yeah. And the ones that do know about, let's say, the NFTs, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, those are the outliers from that group, yeah? Because they are doing something different. They're not following the mold. So, but then you also have those who are consuming, right? So the ones who are consuming now in this kind of like young age group, they're used to just pay subscription and, you know, what you're talking about, buy it, blah, blah, blah. But stuff, YouTube, so stuff like the vinyl and collecting and then the community element, I think the reason why that wins out so much as well is because, especially when it works with younger people, is because when you're younger, you're more impressionable. So it's I want to be a part of this, you understand, right? And I think that's why artists that are doing that direct-to-sell model with that community element are able to win, because those younger people that are coming in and listening to that they are saying, hey, you know, like this, we're a part of this. This is like you said, the vinyl, they will buy it because it's like, hey, I've got this special thing, this old disc that my granddad used to use. You understand, right? Like, but I've got it, and that makes me a part of this new trend. Do you understand, right? Like, even if the trend hasn't hit TikTok yet or whatever, it's just because, you know, these younger people that do discover it, they're like, hey, this is actually pretty cool, right? So anyway, sorry, without going too far off of it, right? When it comes, what about with promoters, like with shows, right? Do you think there's a friction between, because there was also that era where people were faking a lot online to try and get bookings, and promoters were a lot burnt by these guys who were, hey, we've got 10 million followers, however much streams, and they're like 5 man turn up to the show. You get to say to you, like, so do you think that, like, first of all, have you had any bad experience with promoters? And do you think, again, that with the technologies, whether it be Bitcoin, blockchain, or the current Web2 technologies, do you think that this is something that can be used to kind of help the show promote our bookings game as well?
Yes, definitely. I'd say, for me personally, the art of promotion is dying a very quick death. It's not going the way it should be, and very, very few people are actually using the whole promoting thing as it should be going. Like, most people now can do their own promotion within, like, you know, like, if you know what you're doing. But then, like, I've always been an advocate for a rapper should just rap, and a promoter should promote. You should be able to rap and do your thing to the best of your abilities, and then be able to pass off your product to a promoter who takes their cut and make sure that you get the right exposure. But right now, that is almost not the case. You know, there's very few promoters doing like bespoke work for artists to make sure that they get out there. And so I say definitely there's a niche in the market open for someone to either create something or almost, I don't know, I've always said almost create maybe like a promoter to artist interface where promoters can meet the right artists that they want to support and can champion. And artists can find and pair up with the right promoters that can, you know, be right for their product. But as I see it right now, it's one of the real problems in the game is promotion for independent artists. It's the real Achilles heel is getting yourself out there. So,
and then coming to those agreements as well and actually getting paid where the promoter sticks around to pay you, right? Like, so.
That's another question, another topic.
So you'd say with promotion is partly to do with the fact that the art itself is the promotion now. The art itself does the promotion. But also with the fact that there needs to be a level of trust between the artist and the promoter, because the artist is obviously not going to trust. If the artist is doing the promotion while he's got a promoter, he probably doesn't trust the promoter.
No.
Right? No. Or he's just a very hard worker, right? Like, but then if there is a break in trust between the artist and the promoter, then the artist doesn't want to do shows, the promoter doesn't want to pay, right?
Yeah.
So definitely like a trust thing, and definitely I feel that from my personal view that this can be, that problem is a problem that could definitely be fixed using the technologies and different methods. You know?
Definitely.
All right. So before like we get to any kind of wrapping up, what we want to talk about is more about what you've been doing recently and some of the stuff that you got coming up. You know, the brand new stuff. So first of all, just tell a little bit about what you've been up to for, let's say, the past couple of months, last year or so.
Where do we start? Jesus Christ, it's been busy. It's been very, very busy. So I guess I'll start with the main project of note, which I'm still promoting very hard, which is a product I dropped on Boxing Day last year, the Equinox EP, the Michael Parkinson EP. That was totally produced by Michael Parkinson. Really, blessed to be working with hip hop legend in the UK. We've just recently dropped the video for the first single, I'd say, Censorship. Dropped that on YouTube and promptly got like it got censored basically. Got age restricted and got and comments seized. So yeah, that's out. And then since then, this year I am on a mission to do what Currency did in, what year was it? I can't remember what year. The Currency released a project every month.
Oh, I can't remember what year. I remember you was telling me.
Yeah, but they had
every
year, every month he had like the name of the month or
the
something.
name of the month. So similar to kind of like
So just
the
like
Crooked Eye 50,
Yeah.
52 mixtape
So
stuff.
like,
yeah.
I've got a project. So first project I dropped this year was Unhooked with Kizza Beats. I dropped that in January. The same time in January, I was involved in the Enyark and Gold on the Mixer group projects, which are both out there. One's called Always, and the other I can't actually remember the name now. It's just escaped my memory. And then February, I had I released a group project with Haz, artist from the Midlands, from Wolverhampton. One of my favourite artists in the UK. We've released a group project on Enyark as well. And then in March, which is last month just gone, I released a EP, capital A, with Acme Beats, Acme Beats. And now April, we're in now, next week I've got a project dropping on Enyark called Real Music, REEL Music. And that will be the fourth project of the year. I've also got a project dropping next month with Silver Grey and Acme Beats as well. So yeah, a lot of music coming out. The Real Music also has got a feature from yours truly. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. So just obviously, because me and you have been discussing obviously outside of the conversation, just some of the platforms. Can you remember any of the platforms that we've spoken about that really are interesting you? Let's say in the Bitcoin, crypto economy, crypto world, or
I think Wavlake. You've shown me some stuff about Wavlake, and I've looked up some stuff about them. They do look very attractive, if I'm honest. So I'm probably going to be trying to get set up there very, very soon. Probably in the next week.
Yeah. So again, to the people that's going to be listening on Fountain right now, you'll be able to find Airklipz or anywhere on the Bitcoin blockchain. You'll be able to find some of Airklipz material coming up on Wavelake. I know people are going to kill me for that, but probably very, very soon. And I definitely know Airklipz is around a ton of great artists who are like doing some great things. So it's going to be crazy to see some of that collection actually like make it over to Bitcoin, and you start exploring you know, what's going on in the V4V world, and
Looking forward to it.
you know, ordinals and all of the rest of it, right? So, and for the ones of you who hate ordinals, yes, you know, people do like music still, no matter whether it's on ordinals or not, or if it's on a piece of toilet paper, bro. So, you know, just have to deal with it, right? But yeah, all right, cool. Listen, let them know where they can get at you. Yeah, like where's the places that they can find you online, and
basically, if you search all the social media platforms, AIRKLIPZ, Airklipz, you'll find me. Google my stuff. I've got music on all the social media platforms. You know, all the DSPs. I'm out there as well. So yeah, follow me and stay tuned for all my new music coming up.
you know, cool. People, see you on the next one. Big up.
Thanks for having me.